Hey everyone, Chamia here, Just Chamia Show with our beautiful, noted, talented photographer, Mariah Carle of Carle Photography. Hey girl.
Hello.
All right, let me ask you about this question. NHK News reported this week that Russian President Putin is expanding Russia's nuclear forces. Had you heard about that?
I had not heard about that.
And is it a big deal given America's military actions since 9/11 against countries who have been suspected of having weapons of mass destruction? So you think about, us going into Iraq, and there were no WMDs in Iraq. The threats that we've made against Iran, Syria, what's happening in Pakistan, all these countries around the world, and here's Putin, saying, televised statement. Yeah, I'm increasing our nuclear arsenal, and
it's Russia.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They increase, we increase. We spit, they spit. Mm-hmm. We piss, they piss. I think Russia is a very different country than all of the smaller countries that were, saying, oh, we're trying to get weapons, we're trying to get this. And of course, we never found any. Mm-hmm. It's an easy war to win if you can't find anything that was never there.
Right.
And they don't pose a threat, so who cares?
So when you think of international threats that we're hearing about right now, and you hear, talks about ISIS and the things that they're doing, and you hear still about the Taliban and now North Korea and cyber terrorism and things like that. If you have Russia increasing their nuclear arsenal, why do you think, the question isn't what they're doing, but why do you think we're not hearing about it, or American media isn't talking about that?
I think during the whole Cold War, that went back and forth so heated and so strongly. And they're also opening up, Cuba, I believe, is being opened up, so that was a big proponent of the Cold War as well. I think that they're trying not to have that happen again, and it's easier. America's always got this big brother, big uncle, large drunken uncle hero complex. We can't be a hero to Russia. They are their own entity, they are their own country, and in times they were more powerful, in history than we were. And so I think the media, one of two things. One, it's not going to be America's going to win and save people's story, so they don't care. Two, I think it's, on the other side, how much have we increased our nuclear capabilities and our defense budgets with, especially post 9/11 terrorism. I think you have to be naked now to fly a plane.
Right.
So why should Russia not, stay even with their cousin, the U.S.? And I think maybe the U.S. might finally, maybe not with ISIS in the Middle Eastern countries, but with the local Ferguson and the local protests, maybe we're finally turning our media inward, looking at, let's stop fighting with other countries, and maybe let's look at what the fighting has gone on inside our own country.
Let's solve our problems at home?
That maybe if we pay more attention to what's going on in our own backyard and helping, just our neighbors, maybe the cities, the counties will do better, and maybe the states will do better.
That's an interesting notion.
Maybe the whole country might improve if, you're not an asshole to the guy who lives 2 doors down. God forbid.
Wow.
That's a silly thought. I know it's completely wrong and I'm probably now a socialist. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think more realist than socialist. So let me ask you about this, speaking of neighbors. So a North Kansas City school took away the cane from an 8-year-old blind boy recently. They was riding the bus and listening to music and tapped and maybe waved in the air or hit somebody a little bit. But so they took his cane away, and they gave him a foam noodle. They attached a foam pool noodle, like a pool noodle, to his arm. The school district has since apologized, and they gave him his cane back, but they sent him home with the foam noodle.
With a pool noodle.
So,
instead of his cane.
Is it okay for any reason to take away the stick from the walking cane from a blind person, nevertheless an 8-year-old blind child?
If an 8-year-old blind boy is hitting you directly with the cane, which has happened to me, then you can take it away from him and hit him back with it. But I'm not a principal, and I was also 8 at the time.
Right.
No, we used to have a grand amount of fun as children. A friend of mine and I, he was sight impaired, and we had all sorts of fun with that cane.
Right.
We used to say he's blind, he's not handicapped. But on the other hand, taking it away and sending them, they need that cane to, that's how they function in the world. That represents a lot of sonar and hearing. It's a lot more than just not bumping into things. The cane is also used, you can hear the echoing differences of hallways and versus a doorway and a wall.
Right.
A pool noodle does not do that.
Right.
And so...
Was that kind of like cruel? I don't get why I give the pool noodle. What was that supposed to...
I think that the people who did this had absolutely no concept of how much of a multi-use tool the cane really is. It's not just to stop you from bumping into a chair. It helps guide your walking, depending on how it's used.
So the school said sorry. Is that enough here?
What else are they going to do aside from say, we're sorry, we really screwed that up. Hopefully that will never happen again. One of the things that, I think might be a good thing, I'm not too sure yet, is that it sounded like the boy was actually mainstreamed into a regular school. Because if this had been a school for the blind,
they would know better.
Never happened. They would know better. That would absolutely not have happened. On the other hand, it does sound like he'd been mainstreamed into a regular school where he's going to learn a lot more about society and dealing with the sighted world than to be in a very isolated community. Like there's a very isolated deaf community, and there are some isolated blind communities if you go to the special schools and the special classes. A few people who are not sighted have sort of explained that it's sort of helpful to learn the skills of the blind, but you need to get out of there and get into society. And then you're going to have problems. Because you're going to have pool noodles. And you're going to have a kid who's going to whap somebody upside the head with their stick. And you're going to learn as a child, don't do that.
Right.
And you're going to learn, as an adult, don't take away their stick. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting, a few people screwed up. And the young one's going to, maybe learn not to throw a stick. And the adults really need to learn that these are special tools. They were unprepared. They did not know how to handle a situation. Maybe they need to improve their
sensitivity training.
Their sensitivity and their education of this is how, blind people get around and work. The pool noodle is not.
That's not okay.
No,
Stupid. Don't do that.
How did that make the news again?
It's not national, but but
man, I could have been in the news as a child for doing horrible things to a blind student. This is awful.
Horrible. So tell us about Carle Photography.
Okay. Well, we started in about 2008, and technically I was doing some jewelry before then, and the boudoir photography, we technically got my start when a girlfriend of mine came up to me and she said, Christmas is coming and I want some dirty photos for my boyfriend, and I know you, I like you, you're I really trust you, and you're not a creepy dude. Oh, and you also take a good photo. So I was a little perplexed. I'm like, so you put the photos last?
Right.
And you put the fact that you like me first.
Personal comfort first.
Yeah, personal comfort. And so we did the photos. We did everything wrong. It was great. It was supposed to be maybe a little, now if I was given the exact same assignment, I could do it in about a half a day. I think it took us over 16 hours.
Wow.
Over 2 days to get it done right. And that was in 2008. And then, she told a friend and someone else called me. I put up a website and someone else called. And so then and a number of my mentors at the time said, you can't do this. You have to do portraits. You have to do white bread. You have to do middle America, everybody in white shirts and khaki shorts at the beach. And portraits to go on the wall above the fireplace for all the families in like little matching blue shirts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you got to do the chin shelf.
Yes.
And I said, that's great that they're calling you, but those people aren't calling me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting men, I'm getting women, I'm getting transgender. Speaking of, we've been discussing racism quite a bit. I was actually shocked the first time I heard this, by the second, by the third. Now I'm not shocked by anything anymore. I would get women calling, and the first question out of their mouths would be, do you shoot black women?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you shoot bigger girls?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the hell's wrong with you? Of course I shoot black women.
Mm-hmm.
Who would ask such a dumbass question?
Mm-hmm.
What I was blind to
Mm-hmm.
was the idea that they'd already called 4 other studios and been turned down.
Yeah.
Bigger women, nudity.
Mm-hmm.
Many studios will not work with nudity at
Mm-hmm.
all. They'll do sexy lingerie, but
Mm-hmm.
not full nudes. Studios will not shoot men.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized that there were all these people who really wanted images. They
Mm-hmm.
really wanted great images in a safe place where they could have fun. They could tear up the studio.
Yeah.
We could put on different outfits and get really great photos. But I'm still very comfortable. I continued to get more and more clients. And by 2010, I started renting this space, which is over 1,000 square feet of studio shooting space,
Mm-hmm.
plus some desk area. And I've been here about 5 years now. And people keep calling.